Good morning, Internet. This is Alex the Sudokus, and it is Sunday, the 11th of October 2020, and we have another medium New York Times Sudoku for us today. So let's dive right in with some Snyder notations, where we pencil mark in two numbers at a time within any cages. So, as an example, whilst I've got these ones here ruling out the rows on the top cages, cages being a grid of 9, I've got 3 possible candidates left, so I'm not going to pencil mark them in. Similarly, the ones down here, I've got 3 candidates, so generally speaking, we leave them alone. There are specific instances where we are happy to pencil mark in them where there are 3 candidates, and that's when we only have 3 candidates left in an entire cage, basically. So what I like to do is to go around the grid from 1 to 9, and so go through all the 1s, go through all the 2s, 3s, etc. But before I do, I actually noticed that this cage only has 4 cells left, so there's a chance that I can quite easily resolve that. So let's start with that, and I can see the 9s ruled out these 3 cells, locking a 9 in there, so that's my first number. So the numbers remaining in here are 2, 4, and 6, but I can't see any 2, 4, 6 at all anywhere else, so I'm not going to get any further with that. Also, I've got like 3 numbers left here, so incidentally, they are 3, 4 as well, 3, 4, and 9, and I've got 3 and 4 on that row. So if I'm looking for 3, 4, and 9, and I've got 3 and 4 there, looking into that cell, that can't be 3 or 4, it has to be the 9. And if I use the same logic here, I'm now looking for 3 and 4, but I've got 3 over there overseeing this cell, so it can't be a 3, it must be a 4. So that helps me resolve a few numbers, basically. So maybe today's puzzle is better to be started that way, because we can already populate some numbers. And I can see there's a 3 here already as well, because of this 3 and that 3 here. The reason I looked at that was because by placing a 3, I'm kind of looking at, okay, have I got any other 3s in these cages vertically? And I did. And I just look at the rows across, and I can see there's another 3 being able to be placed. In fact, if I stay with the 3s, I can see these 2 3s ruled out these 2 rows entirely, and I happen to have another 2 3s ruling out the columns. So if you've got 4 of the same numbers interacting with the same cage, you're guaranteed to have a confirmed number, because they have to rule out 2 columns, so that leaves you 1 column, and they have to rule out 2 rows, so there has to be a single row left. So with a single row and a single column left, you must know where the number is, basically. So it is here. So the only 3s remaining are in these cells. If we look at, oh no, hold on, it's these cells. If we look at the remaining cages without 3s, and then look at how the 3s interact with them. So I think that's a dead end for the 3s. But let's have a look at this cage briefly. Can we do anything with this? So I'm looking for, well, the 2s have to be over here, and that is useful, because I mean, I'm not intentionally doing this, but I'm kind of solving this a lot of numbers by just not doing any pencil markings. But this 2 rules out those 2 cells, meaning the 2s have to be in a straight line within a cage. And whenever you have a straight line within a cage, where all the candidates are, it basically rules out that column or the row, basically. In this case, it's ruling out this column, because within this column, the 2 has to be in one of these 2 cells, because that's the only way it will fit. It will be placed in this cage, basically. So these 2s effectively rules out those 2 cells. And I've already got 2 down here in this cage, so that must be the 2 up there. So now I'm left with 4 and 6 in there. So can that be useful? Not immediately, but I do have a pair of 2s there. So what else am I looking for? I'm looking for 2, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. Pardon me. So I've got a pair of 8s there, because of these 2 8s ruling out those 2 cells. And I know 9 has to be in one of these 3 cells. So I think maybe it is worth doing pencil markings now. So why don't I do that? So 8s are in these two cells, 2s are in these two cells, 9s can be anywhere, and 7s can be in 3 possible places, so we're going to leave them alone. But also up here, I've got 4s and 6s. So if I continue focusing on these cages, I can also find a pair of 6s down here, because these two 6s, essentially, it's called a pointed pair. So again, they're lined up in a straight line. So the 4s and the 6s can't go anywhere else within this column. So effectively, 4 and 6 are locked in these two cells as well. So I might as well look at this cage now. So the thing about the 4 and 6 being locked in the same two cells, the effect is basically, well, if the 4 goes here, then the 6 has to go in the other cell. And similarly, if the 4 goes in the other cell, then the 6 has to go in the first cell. So no other numbers can go in the same two cells anymore. So in effect, this cage only has 4 playable cells now. So that further allows us to look at things like, oh, actually, there's nothing else going on. But if we look at this column, we can see only 2 cells left. Because, again, on the column, I've got 4 and 6 having to go in one of these two places. So what am I left with? I'm left with an 8 and a 7. So I can't do anything with that, actually, because I can't see any 7s horizontally or within the cages. So I think that's as far as I can take this, or these cages for the time being. So what may be worth doing is do some normal pencil markings, basically how I would normally start. But basically the point I'm trying to get across is sometimes it's worth looking at cages that only has like 4 or 3 like cells left. If it's only a 4 or less cells left, it's always worth having a quick look to see if there's anything interesting going on, basically. So let's go back to the start and look at the ones. Have they developed anything since? They haven't. So let's look at 2s. So I have a pair of 2s over there because of this 2 and that 2. So again, that forms a pointed pair, ruling out the remaining cells in a column. So in tandem with the original 2, I can lock another pair of 2s over there because that's the only place that this cage can contain any 2s. So any more 2s? I have another pair of 2s there because of these 2s and that 2 over there. And finally, in this cage, I've got 4 possible candidates, so I'm going to leave that alone. So 3s, we did know that they fall into those cells. I just didn't pencil mark them in earlier. Let's move on to 4s then. So 4s, it doesn't look like we can lock them down in 2 cells at a time within any cages. So let's move on to 5s then. So 5s are locked in these 2 cells because of that 5 and that 5. Anything else I can do with the 5s? Doesn't look like it. So let's move on to the 6s. Well, these 2 6s and that 6 rules out all of these cells because the 2 rows are taken top and bottom, and the 6 here rules out that column basically. So the 6 has to go here. And this is where the Snyder notation kind of shines, because by placing a 6 here, I'm eliminating one of the 2 candidates for the number 2. So that means 2 can only go in one location now. There's only one place for the 2 in this cage. So it's always worth remembering, if you're overwriting a pencil marking when placing an actual number, that means you just solved one of the other numbers basically. And quite often you'll find like massive chain reactions going on where solving one number unlocks all the cells within a cage, because you're basically deleting candidates as you go along. So this 2 has an effect of erasing a 2 over there. So now I've got another 2. So I think, can I do any more pencil markings with 2 as a result? No, I can't. So that's all we can do with the 2s. But before I move on, I want to have a look at these 2 cells, because if we look at the column, those are the only 2 cells left in the column. So the only 2 numbers left that can fit into these two cells. And they are 4s and 7s. Well, I've got 4 over here overseeing this cell, so I know that 4 has to go here, 7 has to go there. So before I move on, now that I've placed some numbers, it's always worth looking. Well, this 4 unlocks the 4 over here. So the thing about matching pairs is when you erase one, the other must be true. So that's always worth, it's quite easy to resolve them quickly as well. So, and now before I move on, this 6, does that 6 lock anything down? Yes, it does. So these two 6s ruled out the rows in this cage, and that 6 rules out the column. So I do have another pair of 6s that I can pencil mark in this cage. So that's all I can do with this 6. So what about the 4? Can I do anything else? No, I can't, because all the 4s horizontally have been placed as well as vertically. So it doesn't have any influence in any other cages. So there's no point in stressing anymore. So what I like to do when I follow a chain reaction is to rewind back. So I placed that 4 because I looked at this 4. So can this 4 do anything else? It can't on its own, but I did notice that this 4 actually locks another pair of 4s there. So so it's just a habit of like staying with the 4s, seeing if it kind of like creates any more opportunities basically. So I can't see anything else with the 4, so let's look at the 7. Well, these two 7s rules out these columns, although to be fair, this single 7 could have done that anyway, because we started with those 3 cells already occupied. So if we look at this 7, it rules out the row, so I've got the two 7s pencil marked in there. So if we can actually resolve this cell, then we can solve all these 3 numbers in one go, basically, because ruling out the 2, if that's a 2, then the 3 and 7 will be there. If that's a 3, then these are the 2s and 7s. Whereas if that's a 7, then I've got 2 and 3. So if I can resolve this cell, it has a massive effect as a chain reaction. But chances are that's not how we're going to solve it, because chances are that's not the cell that unlocks the cage. But let's carry on. So I think I was looking at 3s. So let's stay on the 3s. Oh, the 3s are pencil marked in. I must have been working on 4s actually. So let me blow my nose quickly. Let's see, can we do anything else with the 4s? Not that I can see, so let's have a look at 5s now. So 5, I may not even have been looking at 4s, I might have already been looking at 6s, I have a weird feeling. But I can't see anything with 5s either. The best I can do is these 3 cells on that cage. Yeah, I can't do anything with 5, so 6s. Sorry about that. I just tend to get really bunked up in the mornings, and I think it's just part of old age, really. So, okay, 6s are done. What about 7s? Oh yeah, 6s. I had a look at 6s as well whilst I was blowing my nose, and I can't see anything at all. So I'm going to move on to 7s. Yes, so I've got another pair of 7s here because of this 7. So this 7 rules out those 2 cells, so forcing a pair of 7s there. So again, this is a pointed pair, ruling out the column now, so the 7 must be in here. And again, we are erasing an 8 as we place the 7, so the 8 has to go there. So, I've only got 1 cell left in this cage, so it must be the remaining number, which is a 9. So can we do anything with the 8? Yes, we can. We can place an 8 as a result, because this 8 rules out any of these cells. So let's put an 8 in here. So I've got a triple going on, which is a 1, 7, and 5. But also on this row, we've only got 2 numbers left, and it is 1 and 5. So not super useful right now, but hopefully we can reduce these in the near future. So let's stay on the 7s. What else can we do? I can pencil mark in 7s here because of these 2 7s, leaving me with just a pair. And I think that's all the 7s I can do. So let's move on to 8s then. Well, this 8 locks a pair of 8s down here. and this 8, that's 8, and that's 8 locks a pair of 8s over here as well. So I think that's all I can do. The 8s are now locked in 4 possible cells in this cage, so not worth touching. Let's move on to 9s then. So this 9 and that 9 effectively locks the 9 in here, because that 9 rules out those 2 cells, this 9 rules out those 2 cells. So now I've got 2 9s on this on these 3 cages, so that locks a pair of 9s in there, and I have 2 9s on the 3 cages horizontally as well, so that locks the 9s over there. But again, I've got a pattern where I've got a 9 in 4 possible cells, so that's a little bit annoying, but I'm sure we can deal with that later. So we've done a round of Snyder notations going from 1 to 9. So what we can do is, since we've filled in numbers as we went along, the board itself has changed, so we can actually do another round and see if the changes has unlocked anything else, and I'm quite confident in saying that it will have unlocked some more numbers for us. But it's always a good habit to practice. I don't know about practicing, but quite often you'll find that you can actually do more by just looking at what I call the weak areas. So these areas on the rows, there are only 2 or 3 candidates left within the row. And if we look at this cage, well, these 2 cages, they all have 4 cells left. And remember, I said at the start, it's always worth looking at a cage when you've only got 4 numbers left, because you may be able to do something with it. So let's start by looking at the weakest area, which is where I have 2 numbers left on the row. So the 2 numbers are 4s and 5s, and I don't think I can place either of them yet, but it makes me think about, well, where can the 4s go, or where the 5s can go. Well, first of all, the 4s can only go in these 2 cells within the cage because of that 4 and that 4. Meanwhile, for the 5s, they have to go in one of these 2 cells within this cage, but I've got 3 possible locations in this cage because I've only got 1 5 locking it over there. So I can't resolve the 4 5 in these 2 cells, but I have produced a pointed pair of 5s there, so that is useful because the pointed pair of 5s rules out these 3 cells. I also have a 5 here ruling out those 2 cells. So now I've only got 2 candidates left within this cage, and they form a pointed pair because they're lined up in a straight line, either horizontally or vertically. But when I say straight line, I mean no diagonals. Basically, they have to be horizontal or vertical. So with the pointed pair of 5s, I can rule out the 5 from this cell because there can't be any more 5s on the same row outside that cage. So I have another 5 locked down. So finally, I've got 2 1s locked in these 2 cells. So I'm going to pencil mark them in. And also, I know within this row, there's only 1 number left, and it's the 1. And funny enough, this 1 has the effect of placing a pair of 1s within this cage as well. So that actually, it does 2 things. So first of all, it's acting as a pointed pair, ruling out this cell, and with the 1 ruling out that cell, I've got a pair of 1s over there as well. So that's formed a 1-9 pair. And the 1 and 9 pair, if we look at the column, remember this is a matching pair of 1s and 9s, so no other numbers can go in them. So actually in this cage, I've only got 4s and 5s left. But I'm going to leave that alone for a second because I want to teach something else. So on the row, no other numbers can go in there as well, so the only remaining number is a 5. The 5 can't go in either of these 2 cells because it'll break the 1-9 matching pair. So I can place a 5 here. But before I do anything else with this, I'm going to erase the 5 for a second. When I pencil mark in the 1s here, I've actually developed a 1-7 pair, because if you look at these 2 cells, before I place the 1s, I've already got a pair of 7s in there. So I've actually developed a matching pair of 1s and 7s. And again, with the rules of 1s and matching pairs, no other numbers can go in there. So that's another way of erasing the 4 from this cell, basically, because when you develop a matching pair, you effectively push out any of any other numbers from the two cells, basically. So first of all, that has to be a 4 now. So this 1, 9 forces a 5 over here. And this 4 erases the 4 down here. But also, by pushing out the 4, I've pushed the 4 into this cell as well. So this must be the 5. So this, by just placing this 1, I'm able to resolve most of these two cages. I'm able to place the 4 and 5 there as well. So it is worth looking at the weak areas in general. And I don't know if I would have developed the 1s straight away if I just went back and done the grid by just going through all the numbers. But yeah, the weak areas sometimes are quite powerful. So, have we developed any more weak areas? I don't think we have. I think we are left with quite barren areas now. So, whilst these 1s and 7s have left me with potentially 4 cells left on this column, that's not actually the case, because the 1 and 7 vertically is on its own. It's not forming a matching pair vertically, it's only horizontally that it forms the 1s and 7s. So I can't do anything with it vertically at the moment, unless I find another 1 and 7 somewhere else, which I can't. So let's have a quick look at this cage. I've got 4 numbers left, and I've got 3 and 8 pencil marked in already. So the remaining numbers are 1s and 9s. So that is interesting, because this cell is empty at the moment. So I've already pencil marked in the 3 and the 8 in this cage. So if they can go in the cell, highlighted cell, then they would have already gone in there, but they haven't. So that effectively means it has to be a 1 or 9, basically. The 1s can go in all the cells, and so can the 9s, but this is the only cell that only contains the 1 and the 9. And what it does is, it forms another matching pair of 1s and 9s on the column, meaning no 1s or 9s can go in any of the other cells. So, unfortunately, that doesn't actually do anything for us, because, yeah, vertically we can't put the 1s and 9s up there anyway, because I've got a 1 and 9 in the cage already. So it doesn't actually kind of like lead to any additional solutions. So I'm going to leave that alone, actually. So I think I've done what I can with the pencil markings, with the weak areas. So now it's a good opportunity to just do another round of normal notation, as though this is the starting grid. So let's see. Oh, actually, I do have a quadruple up here. So should I have a look at that as well? So I know this is a 4. I've got 4 and 6, 4, 6, and 7 in this row already, because I've got those pencil markings. And if I've cleaned the pencil markings effectively, then there shouldn't be any 4, 6, or 7 in this row. So the only other number is a 5. So I've got my 4 numbers. I've got 4, 5, 6, and 9 in these 4 cells. So I'm going to have a quick glance and see if I can see 3 of the 4 numbers in any of the rows. Sorry, in any of the columns or the cages, but I can't. So, hold on. No, that's a lie. I've got 4, 5, and 6 right here. So that means this has to be a 7, actually. So, once again, I've got, I'm looking for 4, 5, 6, and 7 in these 4 cells, because on the row, those are the only numbers remaining. But if I look at each one of them and look down on the columns, I'm looking for the other numbers, basically. So I've got 4, 5, and 6 in this column. So this 4, 5, and 6 looks into this cell within the row where I'm looking for 4, 5, 6, and 7. So it can't be any of those 3 numbers. It must be the 7. So that resolves the 7. And like I said before, I didn't resolve this cell. I resolved the 7 first. So it doesn't cause any chain reaction, basically. So I'm now left with 4, 5, and 6. And I've got 6 seeing into this cell, so that can't be a 6, but this can be a 6. So this can be 4, 5, or 6, this can be 4, 5, and this can be 4, 6. But what is interesting... Oh no, hang on. No, nothing. There's nothing interesting going on with that 4 and 5. I thought there was something interesting going on, but there isn't. So I'm going to leave that alone for now. So let's see. Can I do anything with 1s and 7s? No, I can't. Okay, so this triple is not resolvable, so let's move on in that case, because, yeah, I think it's time to just do a normal round of notations. So I can place a pair of ones there. I'm going to speed up a little bit now because the video is already taken 25 minutes, so I don't want to drag on too long. So I'm just going to start placing the candidates that I can see. So threes, I've already done all of them. Fours, well, fours are on these two columns, but they're in three possible places, so that's not very useful for us. Fives I can place. I think that's all the fives I can place actually. So sixes, still nothing on the sixes. So, but this is interesting. So, okay, let's look at these three cells there. I know the fours have to be in these three cells because of that four there. I've got 5 in those 2 cells, and 6s also live in those 3 cells as well, because this 6 rules out those two cells. So, in effect, 4, 5, and 6 have to go in these 3 cells, and 4, 5, and 6 can't go in these 2 cells. So, this basically forms a triple of 4. These 3 cells have to be 4, 5, and 6, basically. It's a triple. It's a matching triple, basically. So, whereas we have matching pairs of 1s and 7s before, this time we have a matching triple. So, the same rule applies. No other number can go into these 3 cells. These have to be 4, 5, and 6. So, the 3 has just been pushed out. And that means the 3 has to go here, and the 2 has to go there. So, that's not a super advanced technique, but it is slightly more advanced. But if I were to pencil mark in all the numbers, this is what it would have looked like, basically. But I like to not pencil mark in 3 candidates at a time where I can avoid it. So, although I think that does have an interesting effect, because, yes, if I put in these 4, 5, and 6s, I mean, I know they're 4, 5, and 6 anyway. I know I have a triple up here, and I know I have a pair of 1s and 9s down here. So that means I've only got 1 candidate left. I've only got 1 cell left in play within this entire column. So this is actually a 3, because this has to be a 1 or 9 from an earlier deduction. So by placing that 3, yeah, all the 3s are done now. But actually that 3 would have erased that 3 anyway and placed that 3. So either way, all the 3s are done now. So let's carry on with our pencil markings, but I'm going to take out the 4s and 6s for now, because I'm trying to be a bit more rigid with my pencil markings. Because if I break the rules as I'm trying to explain them, then I think it only serves to confuse a bit more. So let's carry on the 6s. Can I do any more pencil marking of 6s? I don't think I can. So 7s, nothing on 7s. 8s, nothing on 8s. So actually, I think I needed those kind of unusual pencil markings to solve this puzzle. It looks like today's medium puzzle is a little bit on the difficult side, actually. I'm going to go back and look at 1 to, like, go from 1 to 9 again, just to see if placing the 2s and 3s has helped anything. Yes, it's developed a pair of 2s in here. So that forms a 2-8 pair, leaving me with a triple on this row. And they have 4, 6, and 7 in there. So actually I've got a 7 in here, so that must be the 4 and 6. That means the 7 has to go in here. I know 7 doesn't go in there already, so as a triple of 4, 6, and 7 on this row, I know the 7 has to go in here. And this 7 resolves the 1-7 pair down here. So it also locks a pair of 7s down here. This one also, this one also resolves the 1 over here. And does it do anything else? No, it doesn't. So can a 7 do anything else? Nope, that's all the 7s. So yeah, so now in this cage I'm left with a triple, and on this row I have a triple as well. Pardon me. I do think I'm coming down with something as well, so that's not good. So let's have a look at this triple. What is it? Oh, it's 4, 5, 4, 5, and 6. So that's good because I've got 4 and 5 looking into this cell. So if it's 4, 5, and 6 in here, this can't be 4 or 5. So I've just resolved the 6. So these are 4s and 5s, but I have a 4 down here. So that must be the 5, and that must be the 4. So this 5 erases the 5 over there, resolving the 5, resolving the 2, resolving the 7, resolving the 6, resolving the 9. So that was a nice chain reaction that I just did there. So I don't know if I can repeat that. So when I place the 5 here, I'm erasing a 2. And when I'm placing a 2, it erases a 7. When I place a 7, it erases a 6. So this is one of the many powerful things that slider notation does. So there's only one number left within a cage. It has to be an 8. And an 8 looks up here, forcing a 2 and 8. So before I forget, this 4 also resolved the 4-6 pair, because that can no longer be a 4, it has to be the 6, and that has to be the 4. And this 4 and that 4 together forces a 4 down here, so this must be a 5, and that must be the 6. So surely this must be resolvable. So I think when I place the 8 there, I can resolve the 8 in here. So these two cells are 1 and 9, but I've got 9 seeing into this cell. So this must be the 1, that must be the 9. So the 1s and 9s are resolvable. And this one oversees the 1 and 7 pair, resolving the 1 and 7. And that is today's medium New York Times Sudoku. So it's taken over half an hour to go through it, and that's why I try to jazz it up a little bit and not do slow explanations every day. But I really appreciate if you guys can let me know in the comments below whether you want me to do, like, do you still want me to do the slow explanations? If you do, I will continue doing them, but I'm trying to mix them up a little bit, doing like no notations, speed solving, and doing it slowly with full explanations basically. But ultimately I want to create content for you guys, for the internet, so you guys need to let me know what you prefer basically. So hope you enjoyed today's puzzle, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I shall see you tomorrow. Bye.